A couple more people join. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Sydney Konahia, and I'm the Manager of Member Services and Retention with the International Franchise Association. And we have a great hour lined up for you this afternoon. Before we get things started, I just want to touch on a couple of things. Today's webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be made available later this afternoon on community.franchise.org, as well as on IFA's YouTube channel. We do ask that everyone just keeps themselves muted during the webinar so there's not a ton of feedback. And if you have any questions for today's speakers, please feel free to drop them in the chat box and they will get answered towards the end of the session. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our speakers.
So, Kate, I'm not hearing you. Over to you.
Yeah, are you going to switch the slides, Sydney? I would like to introduce today's topic, which is a very, very hot one, saving the quiet quitter, how to reduce workplace stress, employee burnout, and staff turnover. You know, a lot of organizations have struggled with this lately, and today I'm pleased to introduce our speakers. We have Rex, who is the founder of Business Calm. Rex has a blue chip corporate career with employers like BAE Systems and Deloitte, where he was leading coach and a mentor, and he ran his own business, and he's been the director of the Times, I'm going to say this wrong, Rex, it's Cheltenham International Science Festival. Rex now helps people create beautiful futures, grounded, connected, and balanced. We also have Teresa, who happens to be my HR business partner here at ADP. She has a career spanning over 34 years, and she's been given the opportunity to grow both personally and professionally. I know for a fact that she has been extremely helpful to me in my HR needs, and she's currently the Senior Director, HR Business Partner, responsible for over 1,200 associates within the worldwide commercial operations and global marketing organization here at ADP. And we also have Mary Beth, who's the Chief HR Officer at ServPro. Mary Beth has been with ServPro since 2022 as the Senior Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer. She's a thought leader with more than 3 decades of HR experience, and she is passionate about the work she does. She is really a people person, and she's dedicated to creating great places to work for all. So I'm pleased to introduce all of them. They're experts in their field. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kate Sunsmeyer. I lead marketing here at ADP, and I'm responsible for working with many of you in your franchise brands. My team and I create content to help the franchisors and franchisees focus on running their business. So if I've not met you yet, I look forward to doing so in the future. And now I'm going to turn it over to our presenters.
Kate, thank you very much. Thanks for that introduction. So, very simply, why save the quiet quitter? We know out there it's damn hard to hire people. We know that hiring is so expensive. Interview no-shows are wasting time, and people are coming up with crazy demands. And we've got a lack of engagement is on the up. Turnover bleeds cash, it hurts the business. Losing great people can be contagious. And a question for you, please do put it in the chat, your responses in the chat. If I could keep quiet quitters, what would it do for my business? Mary Beth, please.
Yeah, so and thanks, Rex. And first of all, just a pleasure to be with everyone this morning or this afternoon, wherever you reside. And look, I've been in human resources, as Kate said, for a number of decades, and losing talent is just one of the most difficult things we face. And I think post-COVID, we're facing it in just entirely different ways, where we now have people who have quietly quit. They're still here and they're still working, but they're not producing what we maybe got from them before. And they're really costing the company a lot. And they're costing the company a lot, just not in the things that Rex has outlined here, but just also it impacts everyone around them. And so I think we as leaders, as managers, whether we're in HR or whether we just have teams of people, we really need to lean into this and understand what we need to do to get people fully engaged so we don't have quiet quitting.
Absolutely. Thank you. Teresa, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I agree with everything that Mary Beth said. It's the quiet quitter is it's like a little bit of an epidemic that's happening right now. And the fact is that we're in unknown territory here. We've never experienced something like this before. So and saving these people, it's a catch-22. Like, do you want to save them? Like, are those the people that are worth saving, or are they not worth saving? And that's something as a business that you have to determine. So it's like I said, it's uncharted territory, and it's really up to our leaders to be able to make that determination, and make that contact with that associate or that employee and understand really what's going on.
Thank you. So that's really interesting because we're on a continuing journey here. We're seeing new things all the time. And right now, this is the epidemic that's hitting us. And that requires us to take a new perspective. That requires us to see what's going on for the people in our business, see whether or not we can turn those people around, or whether or not we need to help them go and find something that's going to be more successful for them. But we want to be really careful about that because we know it's damn hard to hire great people. We want great people in our business, and that's something we're going to look more at as we go through this this presentation. Yes.
Yeah, and Rex,
please go on.
Rex, that's such a valid point. And if I can just respond to that also. So I just read something literally today called Quiet Hiring. And the premise was maybe we as employers, we need to turn this on its head. And we need to start looking at this differently. And quiet hiring would be ways that we look at talent mobility, internally. So let's look at those people we really want to keep. Things like upskilling. Maybe we need to upskill our workforce differently so that they can fill in, these places. And just, again, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but just looking at the workforce very differently than we did maybe a little while ago. But I just saw that first quiet hiring and I thought, well, that's interesting.
And Mary Beth, I'll take that a step further. That's something that we've thought about ADP as well. And some of the ways that we're doing besides with the internal mobility that you mentioned is looking at some of our alumni from ADP. Look at some of our retirees from ADP. So there's some things that you can also do beyond the internal mobility that might be interesting as well.
Great point. Great point.
And it's people have so much potential and so much they want to give, want to continue to contribute, continue to make a difference. And people feel they can give so much more. And if we can just do something to unlock people's genius and to actually release the potential that they have, and being part of the journey of the business, then that's an extraordinary opportunity for all of us to create beautiful things and to go further than we all thought that we could. And it's not so much about giving the extra mile as actually releasing the energy that people already have and finding ways to do that, which are new and different. And that creates excitement. And that's just a world of endless possibility and endless creation. Yeah, Sydney, thank you. So, what we've got here is some fabulous research from ADP, Always Designing for People, ADP, and they bring out regular research report. This is an extract from the Talent Branding Report, and it very simply it says that if people are happy, they are your talent and they will promote your brand. They'll just do that automatically. The numbers here are fantastic, 60+% through 70%. And there are key messages here. So flexibility, autonomy, high freedom, great team connection, and high trust. Key points there just to reflect on. With flexibility, we've got 61% of people will promote. With autonomy being central to staying, 66 people will promote, where people have that choice. With high freedom, again about choice, 68% of people will promote the business. And that great team connection. So even with remote working and hybrid working and a whole new different way of doing things, people want to be connected because at its heart, we are beautiful, connected people, and 70% people will promote. And then we look at trust, and we look at trust amongst our teammates, which is Trust at 71% of people will promote. Trust just jumping to senior leadership, that's 72% of people will promote. In team leaders, it's 66% will promote. So it's really important that we as leaders of our businesses, leaders of our franchises here, are creating that high trust environment. And of course, speaking with human resource colleagues here, 70% of people will promote. So it points us to where we need to take action. It points us to where we need to look. It's great research, it's there, and it's wonderful to share it with you. Mary Beth, I wonder what actions or what things you see from that.
Who's in the basement?
Yeah, this is a great slide and great statistics. And I think the first bullet their flexibility is crucial, is just so important for all of us right now. And look, we have here at ServPro, we have a large non-exempt population, hourly workers. And I know that that's hard to give remote work, or, they can't work from home. Their jobs are on, in the facility, or at someone's home, etc. But what we can do is provide more flexible work environments for them. We can provide them, we can be the employer that says, if you need to go to your child's soccer game, please go, because that's really important. Or we can provide opportunities like maybe job share, or you work 3 days a week instead of 4 days, and maybe it's more hours a day to work less days, so that you provide flexibility. I truly believe today people want to be in control of their work, and they want to be able to integrate their work and their life together and make both successful. And I think the other factors here, Rex, like that's giving people autonomy, right? That's trusting your employees when you give them those kinds of work environments. So I think we said earlier, flexibility is becoming what everybody is talking about. We as big employers are struggling with, do we do remote? Do we do hybrid? Do we bring everybody back? What do we do? Regardless of all that, we need to provide trusting, flexible workplaces.
And so if you've got a franchise where you need people on the job, present on shift, and they've just got to be there, how does that work? What does that look like?
So look, it's like a catch-22, isn't it? We struggle to get hires, then we get them and we work them so hard, 5-7 days a week, as much as we can, that then they leave. But I really believe if we could create different kinds of environments, job share, you work Mondays, I work Tuesdays, different ways that we can provide. And look, pay is still very important. People need, a weekly salary in most instances to be able to live their lives. But if we could change this, paradigm a bit and shift it, so I believe it's like it will just self-perpetuate itself into people want to work in this kind of place. I just read an article where a fast food restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee, and for those of you on the call, I'm actually right now in Gallatin, Tennessee, but a fast food restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee has their order takers remote. They do it from home, and they the drive-through orders. And look, technology today, they process it, somebody pulls their car around and the order's ready. Now that's pretty ingenious. That's getting creative.
Yeah, Mary Beth, I agree with you. I think you have to start thinking outside the box.
Yep.
The days of, coming to your place of employment, doing your normal shift doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work for the people that are looking for work. That flexibility is key. And you also have to individualize it. Rex, you talked about lack of engagement is on the up. People are engaged in different ways. Yeah. And employers have to recognize that and realize that. So 100%, I agree with you on the flexibility, and everything else will hopefully fall in place. But that is one of the most crucial things that has to be done. And the companies have to adapt to that. The old way of doing it is not going to work.
And that's wonderful, because we've got so much rich talent in our organizations, the people in our organizations, and they can come up with new ways of doing things, as you described, Mary Beth. They can come up with, well, how about we share and we do it like this? How about we do things like that? When I've worked with teams before, I said to one of them, hey, we need to save a chunk of money here. And they came up with some fabulous ideas, which saved us more than 20% on
You'd be
costs, which
amazed.
was just
Well,
fantastic.
You'd be amazed what people can come up with on their own and listening to your associates. I have a friend who runs PT business, and she's like, I can't find people. Nobody wants to work at nights. I was like, well, what if you switch it and you don't come in the morning and you work at nights and you have people that come in the morning? She just never thought of it that way because she kept thinking about the traditional way of doing things.
Right. And that's a great point also, though. Let's go ask those who are doing it how they'd like to do it instead of sitting, in our headquarters going, well, here's how I think they let's go ask them. Because you're right, Teresa, they'll come up with great ideas.
100%.
Right. They're the ones
Yeah.
doing it day in and day out. So let's ask them to help solve the problem.
And what do you think are key to trust, to creating trust, to keeping that trust? Because that's so important here. We got 70% promotion of your organization if we can get the trust right.
Right. And that's a two-way street, right? We need to trust our employees and they need to trust us in return. It doesn't go one way. And yeah, look, I've been, as we said, I've been doing this a while, and I've learned in HR, we spend probably 90% of our time on 5% of the population. They're the trust breakers. They're the ones who are just going to make our job more difficult. But for the most part, people want to do the right thing. I truly believe that. They come into the workplace, they want to be successful. They spend more time, in their job or at their job than anywhere else. We need to give them the trust and leave it up to them to break it if it happens, but we need to trust our employees.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of people are ready and eager. There's a whole bunch of people there who are watching, say which way is the water going, which way is the direction of travel here. And as you say, there's a small percentage there who you just got to deal with. Yeah, absolutely. And actually that's healthy. That's the way to keep the whole culture healthy. It's just being open and honest about that. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Tracy. Great feedback.
Yeah, and
So
I think Tracy, that's a great point. If you give it trust, how am I trying to say this? If you believe they will do the right thing, I believe they will do it. There will be those few that don't, but it sounds like your company is setting people up to be trusted and giving them that trust. And that's wonderful.
I saw that too. I thought that was great. What a great opportunity for flexibility.
yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you. And please, other delegates, everybody share your thoughts and experience. Obviously, those things that you're happy to share. It's about us having a shared space here and a shared experience. So just looking at what's normal, there's a new normal. We kind of know it. It's different for each group, changing over time. It's dynamic, fresh, and different. We need to hear the new normal, speak the new normal, find our new normal, share it with our people and live it in our businesses. And this is back to this two-way thing. So the new normal is two-way. It's a conversation. And that's not just one conversation. It will be a continuing conversation because we're living in a changing world. We've just experienced what shock change looks like with the pandemic. And no doubt technology has enabled us to continue with so much of business in a very different way that we had not expected to. And I just wonder for each of us what the new normal is for our business right now. And that beautiful thing is it's going to be different tomorrow. And that's a flexible dynamic that we need to be. Now, I'm not promoting instability and chaos. What I'm suggesting here is that we have a journey, a shared journey that we walk together, and people want to go on that journey with us and us with them. Yeah, please, Maribeth.
Yeah, so for me, as the head of HR here at ServPro, I think one of the challenges for me right now is we have 5, 6 different generations in a workplace, and helping. So you say what's normal? What's normal for one group is truly not normal for another group, and it's trying to be that conduit or that person who is helping everybody get to kind of the same place in that, because our workforce and workplace has truly changed. And I don't believe we're going back to to older ways. I think we are moving forward into a new normal. And we have to be able to measure that. We have to be able to show productivity. We have to be able to show collaboration, those things that we value so much as important. And we have to help, everyone kind of get to that same place. I've got I've worked with executives before who say, yes, people have to be here, and then they never leave their office. And it's like, well, okay, so everybody's here, but you're lying, so we have to, it's a new teaching. It's a whole new dynamic.
I think it is. Yeah. Teresa.
I was just gonna say, Catherine stole my thunder. She used the word transparency, and I was going to say that before earlier. Transparency is the key on both sides, right? On the employer side and on the employee side. And I think when employees are transparent with their leaders and leaders are transparent with their associates,
Great.
or employees, I'm sorry, we call employees associates at ADP, so they're interchangeable. That transparency goes a long way. Honest and open communication goes a long way, and it also helps create a mutually agreeable resolution to a particular problem. So, Catherine, you stole my thunder. Thank you on that.
It just says to me that people are thinking the same thing, saying the same thing. So that's just fantastic. Meredith, sorry.
Yeah, no, Rex, sorry. That's such a great belief, is transparency. And I really believe that, again, post COVID, we had to be more transparent. During COVID, we didn't know what we were doing. Like we didn't. We were all of a sudden home, and it's like, now what do we do? And so, I'd call another head of HR, like, what are you guys doing? They're like, I have no idea. We're just doing it day by day. We literally were doing it quarter by quarter. Well, at the end of this quarter, we'll know what we're doing, and we didn't know. So we had to be transparent with our employees. We had to say to them, guess what, you guys, we don't know. We don't know if we'll be testing as you come in the door. We don't know when we'll be back to work. And I think that just opened up, a whole new way of work. And people are not, again, we're not going back to older ways. People want transparency. And it's okay to say, we're figuring this out. Just like this slide, Rex, the new normal, we're just trying to figure it out. What will the new workplace?
I kept saying during the pandemic, we're in uncharted territory. Like, this is all new to us. And then, solicit feedback. Hey, what do you think? Just try to get people's feedback as well. So, and we're still in that, like, we're dealing with that. And our environment's a little bit different, but we're working on a hybrid environment. And we're really adapting to that. And it's been a rough struggle for us. But I think we've turned the corner. It's taken us, we've been back in our offices since 2021, but we're now in this hybrid environment. But it's a struggle with us. And I know other companies are going through the same thing.
Yeah, and I think
I was just going to say there are other things around the corner. We know that there's a whole new technology revolution that not only are we enjoying now, but the new thing that everyone's called AI, which is really machine learning. Yeah, what's that going to bring to us? And the transparency and the vulnerability of just being open and honest with people just creates a new conversation, and giving people straight answers to what you know and what you don't know. That can be so powerful. This bit we're figuring out, this bit we know, this is how we think it's going to affect the business. This is what we're doing about it. And people will contribute to that in the most wonderful ways.
Absolutely. I also think one of the things that we have never lost focus on is our commitment and focus to the franchises, and that their work may look different than the work that we do, but we cannot lose sight of what they've been asked to do throughout, the past few years in a very different way. And I think we then are very careful about, like, the new normal, because for them, some things haven't changed. They still are 24/7. They still are responding.
Yeah.
Many of them never went home. They worked all through. And so I think that's the one, that's our one thing we continually stay focused on is, the heart of ServPro is our franchises.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Sydney, ready. Next slide. So we're looking here at a new commitment where people are seeing what's important to them. And it's about them creating a good life, about people creating a good life that they will remember. They look back on and say, yeah, that's what I wanted to have. What they'll miss, finding a new balance, each finding a new balance. And we have this dynamic of life, time, and money. And people are making new commitments there. And I just wonder, what new commitments are people making for each of you? Teresa, maybe you could lead on this one.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, they're saying now that I was just looking at a statistic recently that Gen Z, which is the demographic that was born between 1997 and 2012, they're the newest entrances into the workforce. And according to a Deloitte report, Gen Z will soon pass millennials as being the most populous generation on Earth. So, and more than 1/3 of the population considers themselves to be Gen Zers. So, and now they're the most diverse workforce in history. So, people are seeing what's important to them, and Mary Beth, you mentioned it, the generational things. You have to think about people that are coming into the workforce and what's important to them. These Gen Zers, like, a lot of their life, they only know war, right? A lot of their life, social responsibility, DE&I is very, very important to them. So your companies need to be aware of that. That's what's important to the generation coming into the workforce now. And Renee, great comment too. They do prioritize mental health 100% because they grew up in turmoil. So I think that's some important things that we need to remember as employers.
Right.
Among many other things, but that was just one thing that kind of, when I read this slide, I wrote down some notes. I wrote, I was thinking about the Gen Z. I was just on another panel, and we talked all about this as well. So it's a hot topic and things that employers have to adapt to.
Thank you, Maribeth.
Yeah, I read a recent Harvard Business Review article that said nearly 60% of employees, 60%. So that's 6 out of 10 employees say they are stressed in their job every day. I should say not in their job, at their job. That to me is astounding. I mean, I think, we've seen an increase in mental health and in stress and anxiety in employees over the past year, but that to me was just staggering. And so how do we lean into that? What do we do? We do, and again, what we do for headquarters and what we do for franchises, we have to help them. We have to help them with their, the workers and franchises and the stress that they're feeling. If 60% are feeling stressed, and again, it goes back to there's generations that are like, stressed at work. Why would you ever be stressed at work? It's your job. Just do your job. Where, others are like, oh, no. These demands are causing me anxiety and stress and et cetera. And so I think we really are going to have to continue to, to provide avenues where people can, we now use, a vendor that provides counseling via Teams, and so things like that even, people can, use their phone to access, but yeah, all different kinds of ways to help people with the stress they're feeling.
And that's
we
really
did a
powerful.
simple thing at a simple thing at ADP. We did something that called It's Okay. It's okay if you need to step away from your desk and walk away for a minute or 15 minutes to, decompress. It's okay if you want to meet your friend for lunch, and we run call centers 24/7. We have to ensure people are getting paid. So, but we ran this big campaign, and it's actually now part of our culture. It's posted all over our portal, and it's in all of our memos. Like, it's okay if you need to get up and walk away or do something different. And again, I think it goes to that outside of the box thinking.
Yeah, and I think we also have to help our managers, our franchise owners, our leaders on how to deal with this in the workplace so that they don't, when an employee comes and says, I'm stressed or frustrated, that they don't add to that, that they know how to respond to that, how to be supportive and empathetic of that and help their employees get through that.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot of them are equipped to do that because it's new. It's something
It's
you
new.
you would have you 20 years ago, you would never gone into the workplace and said, I'm feeling stressed by my job. It wouldn't
Yeah.
even a thought.
No.
20
So
years in
the
the
language
workplace, you
used
wouldn't
to
see
be
ping pong tables in the workplace, right? It's
The new world.
the language
right.
used to be leave it at the door and
Perfect
bottle it
example, Rex.
and the
Yes.
rest of
Mhm.
it. Yeah. And actually the reality is that people don't. Sure, we all carry a certain amount of stress and so on, but when it starts to impact us and impact the business, and we need to know before, because otherwise it all happens in quiet. And if it's quiet, then we end up with the quiet quitter. And so we
Right.
need to see those signals before. And in fact, I think that timely moves us to the next slide. Thank you, Sydney. And what we're seeing is stress, distress, and exit. We're seeing people getting stressed, fearful, frustrated, feeling small, and people are looking to de-stress. But also they quietly leak their stress. And that's something that we can see. The risk is that then people think that the grass is greener. But people want a path. They want some growth, their own growth. We talked about that earlier. Stability, a degree of certainty. What is tomorrow going to look like? And each wants their own. Each is an individual. They want their own life. They want their own path. There's something about hearing people, sharing with people, and agreeing with people, and having a shared journey within our business, within our franchises. And I wonder, if you could reduce stress, what would you do for your
Oh,
business, for your
right.
franchise? Yeah. Yeah, Mary Beth.
Look, I think my guess is you would see the P&L change if people were less stressed and more productive, and happier in their work environments. Look, I think I think this is one where we can really do some things to help. Is
Yeah.
it forced PTO? Is it things like no meetings on Friday? There are ways I think that we can limit, a lot time for wellness, every Monday at 3 and we have yoga classes or, and help our franchises, these are things that they could do too, provide lunch every, once a week or something that allows people opportunities to just decompose, to take a breath for themselves. And again, it goes back to that flexible work as well.
And thinking outside the box. The old ways aren't always going to do it. I know we keep saying that, but that is a fact. The old ways are not going to keep doing what we think they're going to do. So
Thank you. And just to observe, we've had a couple of comments and questions through from Margaret and Tracy. We're keeping track of those. We'll come back to those at the end. Thank you very much. So one of the things that I've experienced is living a life of stress, which actually had roots before I even got into the work environment through my growing up experience. And I want to share that because I think people do carry stresses, huge stresses from outside of that. And then the stress levels sort of get too much in the work environment. And what I see is that there's an opportunity for us all to acquire a different skill set, to actually see what's going on for people, to hear those small things that can just take the pressure out of that pressure environment, that might help people to get help, such as the programs you pointed to earlier, Mary Beth and Teresa, where there are programs here in the workplace, but there's a fear of reaching out for those. But if you had, a damaged hand, you'd go get help for that. And I think there's a culture change needed where people can say, oh, it's okay to be healthy. It's okay to be healthy here. And we've got all these things available. We've got so many things that are there. And for the uptake of that to be okay, And it used to be like with cancer, for example, we didn't talk about it because we were frightened about it. And now that has changed to a place where we can talk about it. And indeed it's a whole different routine. So the next is
I would also say empathy,
Mental health.
Rex. You talked about it before, but our leaders need to show empathy, right, and listen to our associates, as well as sometimes they're not aware of what your company offers, and I think that that's an important thing too. Like I have people that will come to me and they'll say, I need some help. I need this. I need that. I said, do you know we have this program and you're able to take advantage of it? Not only for you, it's your household members. So I think leaders need to be empathetic and as well as be aware of what the company has to offer, so they can share that with their employees. You'd be surprised as to how many people are not aware of what all the things that companies have to offer.
Exactly, and that's one of the power of franchises, because in head office we've got so much of these things that are available, and let's just share that and give that to people.
I love too, Rex, where you just said it's okay. And I think that's the kind of culture and environment we want to create, that it is okay. It's not going to impact your job. It's not going to impact how we think about you, but it's okay to talk about this. And I remember, a few years ago, and this was, before COVID, and I was with another company, but we had a senior leader stand up and say he was struggling with mental health. And let me tell you what, that had a huge impact to the whole organization, and so and it was exactly what you said, Rex. It's okay. It's, we want to talk about this. We want to help you through this.
Wonderful.
So that's
Thank
very
you.
important. I love that. That might be a title of a book one day. It's okay.
It's okay.
Hey, that's our
I love it. Got it. Yeah, Teresa, you got muted. So please, next slide. Thank you very much, Sydney. People leak quietly, and leakage is just what happens where people are just letting you have those little signals, and people do it in very different ways. It might be a missed agreement. I've had people come to me because they make agreements in all honesty and wanting to make it work, but then they're missing them, and they're saying, I know there's that's a signal here, and we work that through. We create a new balance. It might be that they struggle with eye contact, and that may just be shyness, but it can be something else going on for people. People can be overdriven and over high achiever. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. And actually overload themselves. Laughter, brittle laughter, over laughter, all signals that you can get. Deflections that come through where people will, push it away, push it to one side, or a fear flash, just a very brief instant fear flash. And that's just telling you something about what's going on for people. And people they'll set their faces, they'll set in their body, and they'll set their armor. Some people feel that they need to set their armor just to go to work, just to be part of the work environment. And these things are visible if we look for them, the leakage that people have. Maribeth.
Well, and you just said it, Rex. You have to look for them. They're not going to come, and I think as leaders, it's important for us to be looking, to be walking around, to be talking to people, to getting a sense of what's going on and not going on. Sitting in my office is not going to help me. I think, short story, when COVID first hit, I was the one who struggled, because I'm like, oh my word, I am here in my home office. I have no one to talk to but my husband. This is not going to work, because I realized how much time I spent walking around, just talking to people but as an HR leader, and not just as an HR leader, as a manager and a leader, that's so important. It's so important to walk around and talk to people and see these things and look for these things. So then I started having a weekly call during COVID when we were all home, and no agenda, just come and talk. And if you don't talk, I'm going to talk. And believe me, I can fill the hour. But people came and they just talked, and they just, we talked about when do you start decorating for a holiday? We talked about everything. And some people came and never spoke, but they later said, you know what? I just needed to feel connection. I needed to just be connected. And so I think as leaders, you guys, we're all responsible for looking for these kinds of things within our workplace.
And we know how
I would
powerful
also say
great
as a
team
leader,
connection is.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying,
I
we
would
know how
also s-
powerful great team connection is. Thank you,
Yeah.
Teresa.
Right, right.
Yeah, I was just also going to say too, trust your instinct. As a leader, if you sense something is wrong or something's not right, like act on it. Have a conversation with somebody. It's, hey, I picked up like, you weren't feeling this recommendation or whatever it might be. But if you're sensing something's not right with one of your employees, talk about it with them. And everything that Rex listed here is 100% accurate. And I would add one more, and I would add avoidance. Sometimes,
Thank you.
when people aren't engaged, they do everything they can to avoid you, whether it's missing a
That's true.
meeting or whatever it might be. I mean, they always say when you're not comfortable with something, you fight or flight, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Sydney, yeah, please move us on. We've got a couple more to do, and then we can do the questions. Yeah, so we've got a new power dynamic here. We've got a new power dynamic relationship with the people in our business. And we've always said choice is two ways. I've heard that so many times. But what's happening now, it really is. We've got this different power dynamic. And people are really choosing based on what matters to them. And the beauty is that they're actually telling you what's important to them. But typically it's quietly. And it's hidden in plain sight. The reason we say that is that it's so easy to miss these things in the dynamic of every day. What we need to see are the things that are there for us. And it's about creating this new balance, a new balance in the relationship with our people, which is, we've always talked about team, but for it to be just a natural harmony, a natural resonance for us so that we're in balance and we're seeing what that new power dynamic, that new relationship is in a very positive way for us and for our businesses.
100%.
Yeah, Teresa. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say 100%, and we talked a lot about this already, as to what we're experiencing and what we need to do. And it's, again, it's the flexibility, it's listening, it's the two-way street, it's the trust of the two-way street, and being aware and acting on it. I don't know, we talked about a lot, but I think we covered a lot of everything on here.
Worth saying. Yeah, Maribeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always said this about HR, it's not rocket science. It really is treating others the way they want to be treated and the way you want to be treated, and I think the same is true, in this new workplace and in dealing with things like quiet quitters. Just stop and pause for a minute and lean into it. How would you want your manager to handle that with you? How do you want to have to deal with, we're all going through stressful situations in our lives. We all come into the workplace with all kinds of things that are happening. How does it feel for you? And take a moment to reflect on that and then help those around you. I also feel for new entry level employees, they don't know. They've never been in a work environment like some of us may have. And so how do we help them? How do we help them, figure that out and learn how to best be a professional or whatever it is. But yeah, it is a new power dynamic, but I think we all have the ability to help each other, to help our organizations, to help our franchises through that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sydney.
You're right, Maribeth. It's not rocket scientists, it's human.
Yeah.
It's human resources.
And Kurt, we just got a question and thanks, Kurt, about Glassdoor. So I know, and he says, does HR people regularly review Glassdoor? We do. I have in many places where I have worked. I'll be honest, sometimes you have to take it for what it is because we often have disgruntled employees responding. But I do believe, Kurt, that if you read through Glassdoor or any other social media like that, you will see the thread of truth, right? And you will begin to see, if you have a leader who's difficult or a culture that's difficult, if you read through it, you will see that, and it can be very helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really useful. Thank you, Kurt. Thanks, Marybeth. So looking at purpose and productivity, we know that happy people deliver and that they want to, but people want the purpose, a cause. And what we're suggesting is just share yours. Share what's important to you, what inspires you about your business each day, and what matters to you. Now, we talk about purpose and productivity, but the purpose is really what matters to you and what inspires you. And people will then gather to that, and you can agree best fit. And that's best fit for your organization, for the person who's looking to come in, who's looking to be part of it, and for you. And you can tune your business around that. It is a tuning, a resonance, and that gives us the power to grow. Yeah, Marybeth.
Yeah, Rex, I also believe when people have purpose for their career and for their company, they can work from anywhere. If you believe in your purpose and you know why you're there, it doesn't matter if you're hybrid, remote, or sitting in the office all week long, you will do what's right. You will make your job work. I also, purpose and passion, like, I've been thinking, like, what makes working wherever work? If you have a passion for your job and purpose for your role, I believe you're not going to let it slide. If you don't, and you really don't care, you're probably not going to be successful doing it anywhere. And those are the people we need to keep an eye out for. But I agree with this slide. I hope that my teams understand my purpose, and they understand, and that I understand their purpose, or help them understand their purpose, so that we're all in this together. Because it's not it's all about how we do this collectively.
Right, a shared purpose and a
shared
best
purpose.
Fit.
Perfect. Right.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, Teresa.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's no I in team, right? That's the old saying. And two, like, when you have people that have purpose and are doing good work, they then become ambassadors of your brand, right?
Absolutely.
Which is fantastic. Versus the other end of the spectrum that Marybeth had mentioned, negativity breeds more negativity. So when people have a purpose, they know what they're doing, they're happy in doing what they're doing, they're engaged, like that will spread. Enthusiasm is infectious. So
Fantastic.
Absolutely, Teresa. And there's this I think it's a relatively new kind of terminology of servant leadership. And I love that thought. And I think I've been doing it probably all of my career, but now they've coined it, and a servant, this is all about servant leadership. It's about helping all of those around you have a purpose, and understanding, what makes us all effective as a company and as an organization. Yeah, and I love that.
Thank you. Yes, Sydney, please. We've got 2 more to do.
Oh.
Thanking you. So respect, and a strong theme that comes through this is about people respecting their lives, but also you respecting people, we respect people, and the difference that people make, and this balance of their lives in your business, and the way that we need to create that beautiful balance and keep on creating that in a place of shared respect. Yeah. Marybeth, Teresa.
I read this slide and I actually wrote a note on it. Can't see it, but it says, listen and respect, right? I think it's important to listen to people, and you might not agree with it. That's okay. But I think you need to value people's, not even opinions, but what people have to say, and listen to them and respect it. And I think that's what's missing today, is that there's no respect for other people's thoughts. And I think that we need to change that in the workplace, because it's important to do that. It goes a long way.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Rex, I really, and you and I have talked about this slide in the past. I really like this slide, especially in our world today, because everything has become so emotionally explosive.
Divided.
And divided is a great word, Teresa. And we need to step back, and it doesn't, we're not all going to believe the same things or do the same things, but let's be inclusive and respectful of all. And that's what we're, especially as leaders, as managers, as franchise owners or franchisees, We need to be respectful of all and let that emotional charge settle down.
Right. And please, Sydney, next slide. So we've got a few minutes after for questions. So here we have a new toolkit. Now, these are pointers for your journey. So it's a journey, and it's about seeing where you are, collecting where you are, and then reviewing an update and seeing the new situation on the new journey. Because we don't know what the destinations are for our business. We don't know how new technology, new events are going to affect us. But these are a toolkit to help us through there, about finding a new dynamic balance, creating and fulfilling agreements, respecting, resonating and growing, sharing your purpose, as we say, a shared purpose, hearing people's stress and distress and acting. Hear, speak and find your new normal, find the new commitment of your people. Mary Beth, Teresa, just one line finishes and then we can pass over to Kate for Q&A.
I would just say, I think employers might be at different points in this new toolkit, right? I think we mentioned some examples that Servpro is doing, that ADP is doing. But I think this is a great toolkit, a great starting point. It might change, right, as this crazy world changes every day. But I think anywhere where you might be, this is a fantastic starting point.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Teresa and Rex. And I also, what I really liked about this slide is it's up to each of us. You know, find your new normal, find your dynamic balance, share your purpose. You can't expect others to do that until you yourself feel comfortable with that. And so I guess that's the task for all of us going forward, right? To think about this slide and think about, you know, what is your shared purpose? What is your new normal? You know, and then help your team and others to find theirs as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And the final slide is our contact details. This is a continuing conversation. Please reach out to us. We'd be delighted to help to have those conversations. And it's an exciting journey that we're all on. With that, I'd like to thank Teresa, Mary Beth, and Kate, if you'd be so kind as to handle the questions and look after us now.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for that insight. I always learn so much on these panels, and today was no exception, so thank you. And also, thank you to all our participants. I love watching the chat and seeing the banter and the good suggestions. There is one that I do want to extract because I think it's a question burning in my mind as well as a leader. With all these tools that you've given, how do you, and thank you, Margaret, for this, what are some tips that you have to change the narrative? There are some negative Nellies out there that no matter what you do, kind of poison the well, and they really have this negative behavior. So even if you're trying to introduce flexibility and accommodation, there's that person or that group of people that kind of spread that negativity, and kind of maybe you can respond and how we can use your insight to prevent that from happening.
I'll start. And thanks, Kate. And to whoever asked the question, thank you. And also to those of you on the chat, one thing I'm not is a multitasker. So occasionally I could look over and see something, but I was not able to respond to many of those, but we will read through those. But yeah, okay. So this is the tough one, right? And we kind of talked about, so, you know, that 5% of the population that you spend all your time on and in some ways destroy it for others, because, you know, they are the naysayers. They are the negative ones. My advice, don't waste your energy on them. Focus on the positive, focus on those things that you can accomplish, and hope that those individuals will help to see differently, because there's a whole population that wants to be taken care of. And it's like when you were in school and the teacher paid all attention to the problem, you know, kid in the classroom, you know, there were 30 other kids who needed attention. So what I say is do what you can to kind of respond, but focus on those who really can help make positive and great things happen.
Yeah, I agree. Again, enthusiasm is infectious. And so focus on those that are enthusiastic, who are positive. You're always going to have your naysayers. They're always going to exist. But honestly, sometimes as you have all this positivity happening, like it becomes less and less because the other people start getting sick of them too. So
Absolutely.
you're never going to
For-
change them. So
For
you got to
sure,
learn
for
to live with
sure,
them.
as the organisation moves, it carries the naysayers along. But it also could be that they're leaking and they've got a chronic problem, that they've got a chronic or an acute mental health problem. In which case, look to your franchise owners and see what help is there for people. It might be that they're the wrong fit for the organisation. You don't have a best fit, in which case you've got to deal with it. It might be that it's some kind of cry for help. So
Great point.
all of those things. Focus on the great people, but if people are crying for help, then hear it. If sometimes they need help elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
I think that truth, Rex, that you mentioned earlier on in the presentation is some of them aren't worth saving because they are maybe not the ones you want to focus on. So that's really good insight. In the last couple minutes, I think there's a really good question that has been asked in different ways along the chat, and I think we talked about it amongst ourselves. But for those who are engaged, what do you do to amp up that engagement, to really boost your culture and do things to not just prevent the quiet quitter, but keep people engaged so they become those promoters that we talked about earlier?
Yes. So I would play on their strengths, right? Like, what are they really good at? Continue to play on their strengths. Kate, you know this, right? We're big strengths here at ADP. Continue to play on their strengths and recognize them. And recognition is very personal, right? What I might want to be recognized might be different than what Mary Beth likes to be recognized. So continue to recognize a person the way that they like to be recognized. And then also, get them involved in things that will help promote your brand, things like that. I think that can be really helpful. And then just simple things that I think, leaders know, like where do they want to go in their career and help them get there, help them establish a path. We could spend all day on this. That's a topic in and of itself. But those are just some initial things that come to my head.
Yeah, I agree completely, Teresa, especially in giving them the recognition, the affirmation. These are our culture ambassadors. These are our brand ambassadors. One of my mantras throughout my career has always been make everyone else the hero. So put them in places where they can demonstrate what they're doing. Let them go to their college campus and recruit. People love to be involved. They really do. And I think the more we can encourage that, the more positive and more optimism is another word we haven't used. We need to be optimistic. And I think that will really help.
I think that's wonderful. And each of us are unique and we're all subtly, beautifully different. And we'll all make wonderful contribution in that space of our genius. And allowing us to play to those strengths and grow mean that will become extraordinary, and that releases so much capability that we can then bring to everything that we do, just coming from that place of genius. And even if we're doing tasks that are perhaps routine, that perhaps aren't so exciting, if we're living in that place of genius, then we can bring all ourselves to it. And then, as you say, go out into the world, we can take that to those tasks that we really love, and life really takes off for everybody. They'll promote our business and deliver extraordinary things for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you very much.
Well, I don't think there's anything else that can top that. I really appreciate the opportunity to not just be on this panel with you, but to share all your words of wisdom and thoughts with everyone. I know we only have about 2 minutes left, so I back to you, Rex and Cindy, if you have any closing remarks.
Yeah, Teresa, Mary Beth, anything leaps forward?
So listen, I'll just start. This was a wonderful opportunity. I appreciate you, Kate, getting me involved. I could go all day on this. Again, remember, things are a journey. You can't solve everything in 1 minute, in 1 day. So take it as a journey. I think there's definitely some nuggets that you all can pull out of this session that is going to be helpful to you and your companies. And I wish you all the best of luck with that.
Yeah, that's great, Teresa. So I am known for leaving any webinar or talk or speech I've ever given with this quote from Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said and people will forget what you did, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. So it's all about how we make each other feel. And so many of these slides, and Rex, great job on all of this. So many of these slides is about all of that. So let's just make each other feel good.
And for me, we all want to create great businesses, and people want to have great lives. And there's a beautiful harmony there for us to have great people who fit with our business, having wonderful lives in our business. And we're creating a new dynamic, a wonderful way of seeing that. And we're going to carry on doing that as we go through the years, the days and years to come. And it's going to continue to be different. It's going to be a journey, an exciting, wonderful journey that we can share with people. And that's vibrant. That's exciting. That's the way we can carry our businesses forward, attract people, and people won't be quiet. They'll be noisy about wanting to be part of that journey, that wonderful purpose. It'd be wonderful to be on that journey with you.
Good.
Thank you guys so much. This was an amazing webinar. And thank you everyone for all your great questions and being super engaged. Like I mentioned earlier, the recording is going to be posted on IFA's YouTube channel, and it'll also be on our member community page. And I'm going to send around a copy of the slide deck to all the attendees, as well as that link to the recording, so you guys have access to it pretty easily. Thank you everyone again. Thank you ADP for sponsoring this webinar, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.